In other markets, digital growth has led the industry in comics, so why isn't it working in the US? Well, a lot of factors, but let's talk about digital growth.
Hey there, this is Perch. Format of digital comics. So, I think, um, what's funny is I've been in this business for a long time and I've given a lot of opinions and I've had a lot of topics around kind of the transformation around digital. And for a long time, when comics started to go digital, there was this push, this kind of desire that a lot of people would talk about, which was comics needed to be more than comics. So if they were going to go digital, they had to do more. They had to have animations, or they needed to have panels kind of move around the page dynamically, or you need to make it more like a movie. And I think there's a interesting clue there of how creators and how people who are in comics viewed comics. In other words, and how they viewed kind of the lack of confidence they had in their own medium. So, from my perspective, I've read comics digitally for a really long time because I was very early on in getting manga and other things from Japan, where digital came very, very early. A long time ago, and no, this is not pirating. I mean, I don't think it's completely the right thing to do either, but when I would travel on business trips or I'd go on vacation, one of the things I do, and this is going back, more than 20 years, so I'm thoroughly dating myself. I had an old scanner, and I would take the comics I loved. I remember doing this for Dark Knight Returns, and I would take Dark Knight Returns, an old trade paperback, and I would put it on the scanner, and I would spend like a weekend, and I would scan every single page, and I'd put it into Photoshop, and I'd crop it up, and then I'd merge it into one big PDF file, and I'd put it on my laptop. Or, in this case, very early on, I remember putting this on my BlackBerry phone, and I would have the comic there. And then when I was on the plane, I would view. Actually, you know what? The device I used was the PSP. So I had the PSP, the Sony game system, and I put on a little memory card this PDF, and the device would read PDFs, and so I would have the comic there. So I'd get onto the plane. I felt very clever. I'd slap on my headphones, put on some music, and I would read The Dark Knight Returns on this crappy PSP device. And I felt like I was being really clever because I wasn't having to cart around this graphic novel in my bag. The reality is, the reading experience sucked of this digital comic. And just to be clear, because I'm not admitting to anything illegal, I was not taking that comic and putting it up on any kind of pirating site or anything else. I'm not. I didn't steal. I didn't make this comic available to others. I just it was I bought the title and I wanted to carry it with me, so I put this digitally for myself. It didn't go up on the internet or anything else. So breaking no laws. I don't know that it's strictly legal to take a comic and scan it for yourself. Probably not, but I can say with a straight face and two fingers in the air, this was for me. This was not for others. This is not theft. But the point I'm making here is that I would take this comic and I would read it with the pinch zoom method, or in this case, the kind of scroll with the numeric, the directional pad and the zoom key. And that's how I read comics. And so very early on, this is how a lot of the early Japanese manga comics worked as well. You didn't have animations, you didn't have automatic zooming and moving around the page or any of that stuff. So when digital came to the US, initially there was a very big push to have pages and panels move around and have kind of animations, make it more like a movie. And that was annoying to me. When I saw different companies do this, Marvel did it with their initial digital efforts. So did DC, so did Dark Horse, so a lot of these companies. I remember talking to some editors and saying, hey, look, if you want to get ahead of this digital game, then what you need to do right now is just make the comic available as is. Don't worry. Your readers will figure out pinch zoom and figuring out how to read they just put the pages on the digital device and let the people do what they want. And the answer I got back over and over and over again is nobody will buy that. Nobody wants that. They need more. And they almost do it like kind of a, you're not a good thinker. You're not a good creative person. They would say, no, don't you think we can do more? And my answer always was, yeah, of course, you could do more, but you shouldn't. Your goal is distribution. Your goal is to get the content out, get it convenient. Convenience is your number one priority, not doing more. This is an argument I had with Matt Fraction back in the day of, yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with comics when they're digital, but the first thing you need to nail is just getting it there, getting it on devices, getting it easy for people to grab it, download it, consume it. It's kind of like saying, hey, I built this amazing new car. It's got the most amazing styling. It's got GPS inside. It's got an amazing stereo. The sound, beautiful. And look, we've got smart glass, so you can put the speedometer up on the windshield, and you can, early warning signs for when collision things are coming. But it gets 2 miles to the gallon. So that sucks. It's going to be really expensive to drive. But man, the inside is really cool. Well, guess what? That car will fail. It will fail because you got the practical thing that everybody needs to do, the basic things people need to do, have to be hit first. And with comics, that was, I need to be able to download it. I need to be able to put it on the device. I need to be able to open it. I need to be able to read it. If you don't do those things well, then it really doesn't matter. And digital worked really, really hard at not doing those things well. They immediately pushed the concept of, you're going to download it, and this panel will go to another panel, and then there will be some kind of flashy animation because we need to have an explosion showing on the page, and that stuff is a distraction. It's the wrong way to go. So digital, I think, in the US has really suffered because there's been this built-in insecurity by the comic creators to want to do more, to do more than what the comic is. And the readers don't want more than what the comic is. They just want to read the comic. And I think that's one of the big clues for why digital has stumbled, is because nobody's happy just letting digital be digital. Anyway, that's what I think. What do you think? Hey, leave me a comment below. Are you into digital? Are you somebody who is kind of given up on paper comics and you just store them all electronically? Are you happy with what you've got? What's holding you back? Maybe you like the gimmicks? Maybe you like kind of the panels moving automatically from time to time. Maybe you like kind of this slideshow movie-like approach. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notification. Make sure you're still subscribed. YouTube tends to knock people off from time to time. Follow me on Twitter at Comic Perch, and let me know. I'm curious to learn what you think of this digital world. Thank you very much.